Nowhere to run to, baby. Nowhere to hide. Holy macadamia nut, everybody. I've got some new breaking developments in the Fani Willis debacle. A Georgia judge has just declared that she needs to honor her subpoena from the Georgia State Committee. Remember the Georgia State Committee led by Bill Counsert, the legislative bodies of the Georgia State, which were talking to the Fani Willis whistleblower who we had on our show, Amanda Timpson. They also subpoenaed Ashley Merchant. I'm going to break all of that down, what that means. And then I've also got some amazing clips of Scott Jennings absolutely dismantling this CNN panel when it comes to Biden's legacy. Biden now claims he would have beat Trump. He has doubts now. He has remorse for him stepping down. Remember how bizarre that was when he didn't even announce it, didn't even address the nation, didn't even give a press conference, didn't even tell VP Kamala Harris. He literally did it via X with some very bizarre cryptic message saying, I'm done. It was very weird. I'm going to talk about that. Also, a new health expert on woke propagandist media now saying that there should be a mandate for a new bird flu vaccine. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go through lockdowns again. That just came out today. I'm going to talk about that. Also, we got a whole lot more. I've also got a very strange, bizarre video from Tampon Tim Waltz that's going viral and breaking the internet. You got to stick around for that. But first, let's talk about this new subpoena. Georgia judge just ruled that state lawmakers can subpoena Fulton County District Attorney Cash Money G, Fani Willis, as part of an inquiry into whether she engaged in misconduct during her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump. Accountability is coming, as nation. In the December 23rd order, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Shakura Ingram gave Willis until January 13th to file a list of claimed privileges and objections to anything that has been subpoenaed. And also, Governor Barnes, former Georgia Governor Roy Barnes, who was representing Fani Willis in the case, wrote this email to Associated Press saying, quote, "We believe the ruling is wrong and we will appeal." Remember, earlier this month, an appeals court removed Willis from the entire case. She's gone. She is out of here. Back in August, this Republican-led Senate committee sent subpoenas to Willis seeking to compel her to testify in September. You know what she did? Well, you know what she did because you've been following me. She skipped the entire hearing, and lawmakers were hoping to question her. This committee, again, was formed to examine misconduct allegations against her during the prosecution of Trump and her efforts to overturn the former president's 2020 election loss in Georgia. Again, Barnes, Willis's attorney, argued the subpoenas were overly broad and not related to a legitimate legislative need, and that the Senate committee didn't have the power to subpoena her in the first place. But then Fani Willis had something completely different to say about it. Watch this.
Here before a Georgia Senate committee without a subpoena?
Well, first of all, I don't even think they have the authority to subpoena me, but they need to learn the law.
So will you appear, yes or no?
I will not appear to anything that is unlawful. And I have not broken the law in any way. I said it, I'll say it amongst these leaders. I'm sorry folks get pissed off that everybody gets treated evenly.
All right. I think she answered that very well.
I respectfully disagree. I don't think she answered that well at all. And Fani Willis, as always, showing she's the complete opposite of professionalism and integrity. Again, this is the same person who says, I'm all for the people. I'm transparent. And yet she won't even answer a few questions. If you have nothing to hide, why not honor the subpoena? Well, now this judge says she has to. So can you imagine, my fellow Americans, my global citizens, Nez Nation, this is going to be live streamed. And you know your boy Nez is going to cover the whole thing. If you thought the disqualification hearing was explosive, wait till you see what Fani Cash Money G. I've said it from day one. Her ego is so big, she will never admit to wrongdoing. She has to be forced to dismiss herself, forced to be disqualified, forced to give up the case, and now forced to be accountable. And ladies and gentlemen, The accountability is coming. I am so excited. One issue raised is that the Georgia legislative term will end when lawmakers are sworn in for their new term on January 13th. Republican State Senator Greg Dolezal said last week that he plans to file legislation to reestablish the committee at the beginning of the 2025 legislative session. He states, quote, "The law is clear and the ruling confirms what we knew all along. Judge Ingram rejected every argument made by Willis in her attempt to dodge providing testimony to the committee under oath. I look forward to DA Willis honoring the subpoena and providing documents and testimony to our committee." If you're wondering, Nez, what do you mean? What's this committee all about? Here's a refresher. Ashley Merchant, who was subpoenaed by the Georgia State Committee to help essentially shed some light on everything, she honored it. She was on time. She was professional. Watch this.
You had text communications with Mr. Bradley to confirm this?
Yes.
And was that because you didn't want to file a pleading that was inaccurate?
100%.
You wanted him to verify the accuracy of what you were claiming had happened?
I did not want to say one word that had not been verified.
Because he was the source?
Yes.
He's the guy that was his law partner and his divorce attorney?
Yes.
Who probably knew as well as anybody in the state?
They had been best friends also.
Okay. All right. And so let's pull these up, Senator Dolezal. When did you start? You kept these text messages somehow?
I did. So I actually, Mr. Bradley uses a Android, I believe, and so it was not easy to just download them, and I'm not the most tech savvy person. I also, there's a lot of texts that just went into things that I thought would just embarrass people and weren't relevant. So what I did was I screenshotted the texts that I thought were relevant. I tried to use those in court, but the prosecutor kept objecting and saying I was hiding things because I wasn't showing all of my text. So they just kept on and on for days saying I was hiding things, and I explained to them, I let them look through my phone, they scrolled through all my texts.
Who's they?
It was Adam Abadi was the prosecutor.
Okay.
So he just kept saying, that where's the beginning of that text? Where's the thing after that? Where's the other part of that text? These aren't complete. Rule of completeness, kept objecting. And I had just screenshotted the texts that I thought were highly relevant, but weren't slanderous, I guess. I don't even know the word. But, there were some that Miss Willis's daughter had failed out. Like things like that. They were just ugly. They didn't need to be admitted.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
So I had tried really hard to just screenshot the relevant ones, but they kept saying that I was hiding stuff and I wasn't showing the whole thing. So when they objected to my text coming in the screenshots, they said they wanted the whole text chain, and the judge ordered me to, if I was going to admit the text, to go figure out a way to download all of them. So I bought a program for $20-$30 and took 3 hours, and I was very proud of myself for finally figuring out how to do it. But I was able to make a copy of it and then redact our phone numbers. So this actually showed when they're read, when they're viewed.
So it was in that hearing with the Georgia State Committee. That was the same committee that, again, has oversight over all, goings-ons and legal proceedings in Georgia. They were the ones who subpoenaed Fani, and Fani dishonored them and said, no, I ain't going because I don't break the law. By the way, I have to say this. Ashley Merchant, if you're watching, she's been on our show, by the way. She was one of the best interviews we had of 2024. If you missed that, you got to go check it out. It's on my channel. If it wasn't for her, none of this would have come to light. If it wasn't for her, Fani Willis would still be on this case. Fani Willis would probably still be pursuing this. Fani Willis would not be held accountable. She wouldn't have been disqualified. We owe everything to the Merchant law firm in Georgia, Ashley Merchant and John Merchant. You guys are heroes. And I think, quite frankly, probably, I think they saved the justice system. What they did was quite phenomenal, really, because the justice system was in trouble. And it was going down bad because Fani Willis is a nasty person. I agree, Mr. President. I think that they actually saved the ethos and image of our criminal justice system in more ways than one. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. Remember, we're going to live stream the whole thing. It could be happening as early as mid-January, if not sooner. So subscribe, follow, stay tuned, sign up for a free newsletter. You don't want to miss that. Okay, next up, I have for you Scott Jennings, our national treasure, who absolutely dismantles this entire CNN panel that claims that Biden's legacy is still intact. This is the guy who literally has thrown the United States of America into the dark ages. The Wall Street Journal only confirmed everything that we already knew. He's never made a serious decision. He's been in accelerated forms of dementia for the past 3.5 years. We have no idea. It's the greatest scandal in American history. We have no idea who was running the country. We have no idea when it began. We have no idea the truth about the Robert Hur investigation. We have no idea who was in charge of executing this coup. I mean, we have an idea, but we don't know officially because there's no way he stepped down voluntarily. It is the biggest scandal in American history. Watch Scott Jennings just absolutely bowl these guys over.
But Joe Biden's record with regard to the things that he's accomplished, I think will stand the test of time. Now, what my dear friend Scott and others will talk about, and quite frankly, I'm going to say this, on it, rightfully so, it was very disturbing to learn late in the year about just how how poor his health has become. And I, like many, I did not realize that it had gotten to that point. That being said, I think he's still, look, he showed up for the job. He got the work done. I think some of the accomplishments also in the Middle East and foreign policy will also stand the test of time.
You think the Middle East is in better shape today than when he took office?
Well, I think he got our hostages home. I think that's a big deal. I think it's important.
I'm sorry, which hostages?
He's gotten a number of people home. He was able.
There's still 100 people over there.
Well, there were more than
including some Americans. Look, I think he's gonna leave office in disgrace. The Hunter Biden pardon was disgraceful. He's going to be remembered largely for inflation and for the disastrous Afghanistan pullout. And I think as we continue to, we're just getting the first draft of this now, but as we continue to learn about the massive cover-up that went on, not about his health, but about his mental acuity, to cover that up, the efforts that were undertaken by the White House staff, by his family, not in the last couple of months, but for all 4 years, I think it's going to be a really ugly chapter. It's a diminished presidency because of it. And I think we still don't know the full extent of what they did to try to hide what they've been doing over in the West Wing.
So I think leaving in disgrace is when you have an insurrection at the Capitol. Like, that's leaving in disgrace. Being impeached twice is leaving in disgrace. So that's a difference. I think Joe Biden's going to be remembered in the short term for what you were talking about, whether or not he had the capacity to lead, who knew what when. I mean, there are many people outside of the very small network of Anita Dunn and Valerie Biden Owens and Jill Biden and Hunter. There aren't many people who knew the concerns that were there or whether or not he was up or fit for the job. And so those questions will be asked. Over the long term, this is somebody a lot like Mitch McConnell.
So everything that lunkhead on CNN said was completely, I mean, the insurrection never happened. There was no insurrection. The impeachments were completely based on fraud. There was zero merit to any of the impeachments. The impeachments were completely politically motivated and not motivated by any criminal activity, etc. They were all disproven. And so I just don't know how anybody can defend Joe Biden. It has been the most disastrous 4 years. And the fact that we still have no idea who has been running the country, we don't even know who's running the country right now, is beyond embarrassing for the entire world. And thank God America made the right choice on November 5th in a mandate that is an ironclad statement to the rest of America, to the rest of the world, that we've had enough. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So our next story, we have a health expert on woke propagandist media now claiming that we need to accelerate the authorization. There's already been emergencies, even in my state, California, claimed. I don't know if there's going to be a federal emergency. I sure for hell am not going to be abiding by any of these. First of all, I know a lot of medical experts who agree and concur that this is not an emergency. But watch this. I have a lot to say about this, but let's watch this first.
Two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them, so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is, this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
Dr. Wen, is bird flu in humans super dangerous?
Well, the World Health Organization estimates that in prior outbreaks of the bird flu,
the
the
WHO.
mortality rate is 52%. 52%. However, in this most recent outbreak, it seems that most cases have been mild, and maybe some people even have asymptomatic infection. But the question is, we don't know what happens when bird flu affects more vulnerable individuals. People infected so far in the U.S. have been mainly farm workers who are working, presumably generally healthy, as opposed to what happens when you get to children, to pregnant women, to older individuals with chronic illnesses. We don't know how deadly, how dangerous bird flu is going to be for those individuals. And again, that's one more reason why we don't want it to spread and acquire more mutations.
The key thing in that statement, I can't wait to get your thoughts on that, is that she said in Biden's remaining days, he should accelerate the authorization of this because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to do. I'll tell you what the Trump administration is going to do. They're going to listen to the people. They're going to actually listen to real experts and analyze and try to figure out, hey, we went through this before. What have we learned? What can we avoid? What mistakes did we make so we don't make them again? And also, I just think it's so, again, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but I really do believe that the woke propagandist media, they're seeing their credibility, their ratings, their standings completely plummet, and they know that fear sells. I think this is a fear sale, and I'm not buying it, and I hope you aren't either. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, our final clip and story that I want to share with you is extremely bizarre. I have said many, many times on this show that we dodged the most dangerous bullet on November 5th, 2024. That if, in no hyperbolic terms, in no histrionics, I'm not being dramatic, if Trump would have lost, thank God Almighty, all praises to the Most High, he didn't. If Trump would have lost, the global ramifications of having these two momos in charge would have been catastrophic. I'm not being exaggerating at all. This video of Tampon Tim and his wife, which is going viral, to me exemplifies it all. Watch this.
Okay.
I don't want to be in this.
Yeah, I know you don't want to be. We're just discussing. Look at this beautiful Apple box, and it's the end of the year. Gwen and I are cleaning. Yes, it's empty. It's empty, Gwen. We see that, and we were just mentioning as Gen Xers and late boomers, the idea of throwing away such a nice Apple box is really a challenge. So we're starting a new one.
It's a good box.
It's a good box, and we might someday put the computer that's outdated back in it. But really, people, we're making this decision. We're starting the new year right. We're throwing it away.
It's not the new year yet. Maybe just hang on.
No, we're throwing it away.
What? Excuse me? Huh? And he thinks JD Vance is weird? What the hell was that? You decided to make a video and post it on all of your socials of you saying it's a challenge to throw away an Apple MacBook Air box, an empty box. Huh? There's people out there who can't afford to eat groceries, gas, their rent, their mortgage because of your ideologies. This is the same guy that wants to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. This is the same guy who let cities burn in Minnesota because the people who were burning them fit the narrative. This is the same person who called J.D. Vance, our President Trump, our Vice President J.D. Vance, and others weirdos. Yeah, they're just weird. Wow. Wow, wow. And this is what you post. after getting a huge L on November 5th. When I say, I mean, do you now see what I'm talking about? Do you now see how I'm not being dramatic when I say we dodged an extremely dangerous bullet? My God. I can't wait to get your thoughts on all of this. Let me know in the comments down below. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here. If you haven't seen these already, tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. And may God bless you. May God bless the USA. Happy New Year. I'll see you soon.